We finally got a nice enough day that we could get some paint. We want to get some on these radiator tanks. The side panels on the side of the radiator need paint. Engine block, the pony motor, and a whole bunch of miscellaneous smaller parts. So, plan here, I'm going to get the valve cover gasket out. We'll clean this up. We'll silicone that valve cover gasket to the head. And we'll install the valve cover and paint everything all together. First things first, we're going to find the studs to put in there that go up through the valve cover. The washers that go on the top. We just discovered to get this valve cover on here properly, we need to put the rockers in there, put the studs in there, and then we can button this up. Right now, Dad's over here, and I'm over here with a razor blade. We're trimming off all the excess silicone and gaskets on everything. We had very high hopes about painting this. The next few days, I'm actually going to be out of town, but Dad was going to paint it. It's in a lot better shape than our other one was.
Yeah, it is.
And we're kind of looking forward to pulling this head off of here eventually. We want to see what the sleeves look like inside there. Having a bit of a discussion about the naming that Caterpillar did on the engines. Well, this is a D4400, and there's a D4600, which is 6 cylinders, so 46, 44, 4 cylinders. But then we were trying to figure out where the 3400 fits into that equation, and we're not quite sure.
Well, I know that the 4400, the bore is 4 1/4 inches, and the 3400, the bore is 3 3/4 inches. So these are a 1/2 inch bigger than the 3400.
The D315, like is over there in Wheezy, is a 4 1/2 inch bore. These are 4 1/4. So I don't know how Cat named them. I really don't.
These are 312 cubic inches. And the D315 is 350 cubic inches.
There's got to be some logic to the numbers, maybe. I don't know. If anybody watching this in the comments knows, let us know down below. We're getting the oiler line off of here, and we'll pull these nuts off of here. Let me go get a deep socket. We're going to get this off of here, clean it up, and then I'll show you the difference. The ones on 4G are in terrible shape. All right, that's the back one. We're going to need some of those
push rods.
Push rods too. Is it stuck?
A little bit. It was okay.
The good thing about this engine, even though it's torn apart, it's been in a shed for, I don't know, as long as they've had it. We might even clean up these push rods. We're definitely going to keep the nuts off of here because everything from 4G was super pitted up here. And we got valves.
There we go. Let's just see what one of these guys look like. It was sticky down in there. Got good oil on it.
Yeah, that's surprising, really. We're having a discussion.
Oh, they're the same.
Oh, they are the same.
2A1905.
Okay. Crisis averted. So these are the same part number as the ones on 4G. These earlier ones, they did not have a gasket or an O-ring or anything. I noticed the 5T we have, it actually is a kind of an aluminum. These are really thick steel. So I'm going to go ahead and make a gasket for all 4 of these. I don't know. I just hate to not have something in there to keep dust and things out. So Dad's putting the rockers back together. He's got them all cleaned up. The oil passages are free. He's putting a little bit of engine assembly lube on them. And we'll start putting them in.
Put a little on them too.
And Dad just took these over on the belt sander and polished them up. So
cleaned them up so they were square again.
Yeah, they look really good. Show the camera here.
Well, here's a dry one.
There we go.
I should have showed a before and after. They were all cut and grooved.
But they're really nice now. So, there's a spring, a washer, a rocker, and then another spring. How do our springs look?
They're okay.
Yeah.
At least they're together, unlike 4Gs were.
Yep,
They
4Gs were
broke.
all rusted and broke. But now we have an extra set. But 4Gs has got so much pitting. There you go.
I'm putting that outside where that cotter key was.
Everything.
You got me another new cotter pin?
I do. I've got some cat ones right here.
Slam him in there, and
I guess it doesn't matter what direction.
there we are. There's that one. I don't have this one back together because...
And there was no paint on anything inside of that valve cover on 4G. You can really see the pitting on all these as opposed to this one over here.
Well, even the shaft. Look at the shaft.
It's got grooves
out here on the end.
I mean, you could use it.
Yeah.
It would run, but we have this one now thanks to the new parts tractor, so why not?
And these were all... The oil passage is nice and open in this.
Yep. And you spent a lot of time getting this cleaned up. And
yeah.
You can really see the pitting on
this
these.
thing I probably have about, between the two of them, at least 2 hours getting the rust off of these guys.
Up until, what, a couple weeks ago when we got all those other tractors, this was what was going to be in 4G. We were going to put these back in there.
Yeah. But this is much better.
Yes.
Much better.
We will have this one for, it'll work on a 5T or another 7J or something else in the future,
In fact,
too.
these slid on a lot tighter.
Yeah,
too.
these were worn.
There you go.
All right, I'm gonna try and get these studs out of here. I'll have them out of this head, out of the other 7J head, and out of 4G, and we'll compare them because some of them were bent, some of them got really scarred up. So we'll use the best ones. We're getting overwhelmed with parts up here that we need to get back together or paint. And right now, I'm working on the studs that hold the rockers in and the valve covers. I'm rolling them on this piece of masonite. I'm going to pick the best ones, ideally the ones that aren't pitted, like these ones off of 4G, or bent, or somebody hasn't used the cam over stud remover. So we'll see what we got. Looks like the best ones are going to be ones that were actually on 4G. A lot of these, it looks like people have... I've noticed that there's a tendency to try and lift the whole engines off of these things, which is one thing, but it bends them. And some folks have gotten zealous with the the cam over stud remover and gotten up into the threads too. What do you got over here you want to show everybody?
Well, this is your tappet. See where it's wore in there?
Yes.
And then you just touch them up, clean them up so that they're... And you want to be sure, not that it's necessarily flat, but a little bit of roll on it. I don't know, there's a little bit. You don't want anything in there like that.
And we'll adjust all that out when we adjust the valves later. I've gotten 2 of these in over here. I got a couple more to do. Dad's putting together the other side of the rack, and I'm over here. This is a small step, but a big step. Got 4G's original dipstick cleaned up, and that way we can get a nice coat of paint on it when we get this engine hung up. Got that one?
Just got to bend the cotter pins and we're good.
We're cleaning up the push rods, and I think we have a nice complete set here. We're checking them for straightness to make sure none of them are bent. We got some with the other 7J, and we got some with the new 7U, which we've already stolen one out of there.
No, that's a 7J as well. 7J 4369 and 7J 4735.
Yes, and we've got push rods from both of those engines. We've elected not to use the ones from 4G. They were very rust pitted and showed a lot more wear. So we're probably going to use, we got 7 of them with one 7J, and we're stealing one out of that 7J over there. So that should give us a nice complete set. And we're rolling them around on that piece of masonite to make sure that they're nice and straight. So we need 2 more out of that engine.
Well, I'll go clean it.
Made a mistake. We probably shouldn't have put the head on yet, but we've already crossed that bridge. So we're going to leave all that out of there. They're cleaned up. They're ready to go. We found the push rods that we want, that we're happy with, that are good and straight. So when we get to that point, we'll be ready to put it all together. Dad's going to work on a lot more of this paint prep, taping things off. I think he's going to paint some of the smaller parts and get them ready.
Our radiator.
And the radiator. That's a biggie.
I will get that painted.
We need to get that painted. Especially the side panels on the radiator. We need to get the insides of them painted so that we can put it together. We have the oil filter housing here. Now, we're not going to use the original screen filter out of 4G. I'd like to. Aesthetically, it's correct. But this has a canister disposable filter, and I would feel a lot more comfortable with that. I can change it more often. We can catch more debris, and I think that's a better option altogether. I think we're going to set these on the engine because they're pre-lubed and everything, just temporarily with no rods in there, no push rods, just to keep them clean. So we're going to have to eventually adjust this stuff. We know that. Everything's loose. We've got all this stuff loose, pre-lubricated, ready to go. And this was actually a big step that needed to be done. And running into these good rockers, this was a big deal. I think you're a little bit... There you go. We're going to be pulling this off and on several times probably to retorque the head, to do adjustments. So this is just on here temporarily for now. And I'm going to throw the push rods in here. It'll actually help cover up those holes too. My wife is very crafty, and she has this Cricut thing that cuts out pictures and stickers, but it also cuts out gaskets. So she just puts them in a computer program, and it's going to cut them out for us. There we go. And these are going to be ones that we're just going to put on top of the valve cover under those washers just to seal it and keep dirt out. But cuts a perfect circle. There's a lot of uses for this in the future.
Well, here we are. It's mid-afternoon. Been working most of the day on prepping these things to paint. I think I've got everything prepped and covered that I need to, so we can get a first coat of primer on this thing. And it's fairly warm. We're 56 degrees, and I'm contemplating, we're probably not going to get too much warmer today. I'm contemplating spraying all this, my coat of primer, and leaving it overnight so I can put color on tomorrow, because tomorrow we're supposed to be 70 degrees. So we will see. I've got a few more things to do here to get ready to start spraying. There's the pony motor. And I think I have plenty ahead of me to do. So I think I will get my paint gun out and my paint and go ahead and see how things are going to work here. And if it does, we'll be back and join you a little later. Okay, I have this engine rigged so that I can get some height on it to get under it to paint it. And this is kind of the first lift where, other than the skid steer that we tested it with, will show us what our Goliath crane can do. So let's see how it ticks here. Well, we're definitely heavy on the back. We made an adjustment and we got it pretty level enough for painting. Just a couple of links and it'll work good for hooking it up to the tractor when we get ready. I know just what to do to level it up. So it's hanging there. We're going to raise it up and get to paint, mix up some paint and get to painting here. Well, Everything is gray now. I didn't have time to do any painting last night, but I waited for it to warm up today at about 11:30 this morning. It got up close to 55, 60 degrees, so we went ahead and did it. So now it's got to cure out. I got all these things we had ready, painted. There's the pony motor. Bunch of miscellaneous items. Mainly, we wanted these radiator tanks done so that we can put our radiator together here soon. I don't know if I'll be able to get any color on this afternoon. It's, you know, it's just 60 degrees, so it's not curing real quick. I tried not to put the primer on too thick. So we'll see. Maybe in a few hours we can get some color on first coat. And I even did our new stands. I had a little bit of primer left over, so I sprayed it out on them guys. So anyway, pretty happy with it. Now we'll see if we can get some color on this afternoon.
So I made it back from the anniversary trip, and cleaner's been real busy around here. So what are you doing now?
We're getting ready. We're going to shoot color now. It's about 3 in the afternoon. It's not quite as warm as yesterday, but it's around 60. The problem is we got wind blowing in here today, which yesterday it was blowing away.
We're hoping to get 1 coat of color on today and then let it set. We're going to put some heat on in the shop tonight, and then we'll hit it again with another coat of color in the morning. This is a big step because we've kind of been looking and doing a bunch of little other projects, and we really needed to do painting to finish up this radiator that we started months ago.
It's about 1/3 of a gallon.
That's what we got left.
But we got that other new gallon too.
We got a new gallon and a quart, and I just ordered some more. We weren't very far from Allstate's Ag Parts, so I stopped in there and got some more Caterpillar Highway Yellow paint and primer, so we should be set. We're pretty happy with our first coat. We got a little wet, and in a few places we got a little close with the paint gun, so we're going to adjust our settings a little better today. It's warming up enough that I think we're comfortable putting another coat of paint on here, but there's one thing I think we're going to probably redo later. When I sandblasted this valve cover, I didn't quite get all the paint off the outside, and we're not happy with this, so we're going to take this off. We're not going to put any more paint on here. We'll sand it down later. And when we do all the body work, we'll get it nice and straight. But this is bugging us. I'm glad we took advantage of this weather window to get paint on these things, and this engine is looking pretty good. We're pretty happy with that. Pony motor looks good. Oil filter housing looks good. All the small parts, some of them could do better. I got some runs on that, I see. It's kind of hard to spot everything all at once. what we really needed done, the radiator so we can put it together. Got all the straps and the side panels painted so we can put it together. Dad's back there cleaning up the paint sprayer. And yeah, this is not even close to the end of our paint spraying. So what's the lesson for today, Dad?
Take advantage of the weather.
And strain your paint.
We need to get us some strainers.
Yeah. And I had some old ones, so that kind of saved the day, but things turned out okay. So I do want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Dad just had a toddler meltdown because his favorite orange knife went missing.
It was missing for about 30 minutes.
Yes, we were tearing the shop apart looking for it.
That's why.
And I offered that he could use my blue one that's exactly the same, but it wasn't his orange one.
I want my own.
He wants his orange knife.